Right. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to our remote meeting of the Stanley Town Council. This meeting is taking place on Tuesday, the 24th of November 2020 at 6:30 p.m. and is being streamed live to the Council's YouTube channel. It will be available to view for a minimum of 6 months. Please be aware that any footage from the meeting may be used in subsequent media broadcasts. I'm Councillor Carol Hampson, Mayor of Stanley, and I will be chairing the meeting tonight. I would like to extend a warm welcome to members, officers, members of the public and the media who are watching this live stream. Before I commence with the formal business on the agenda, I would like to cover the housekeeping issues for us all to follow. For those participating in the meeting, if you could please only speak when invited to speak by myself as chair. Keep your microphone on mute at all times unless invited to speak. If you wish to speak, please type RTS in the chat function. This will indicate to me that you wish to speak. Please bear in mind that all participants can see messages in the chat function. Once invited to speak, please introduce yourself with your name and position, unless you have already introduced yourself earlier in the meeting. If you are having issues with connectivity, try switching off your video and use just the audio function. If connectivity issues continue, you may have to leave the meeting and rejoin to get a better signal. Please follow these simple rules as it will help us in the running the meeting as efficiently as possible. I will be pausing briefly when questions and comments are being invited to allow members to register their intention to speak. As I have mentioned, it is a remote meeting of the full council, so please be patient should we encounter any issues. Thank you. Moving on to the formal business on the agenda. Item 1 on the agenda is apologies for absence.
Thank you, Chair. We've had apologies from Councillor Ballinaire, Councillor Joyce Clark, Councillor George Wilkinson and Councillor David Marshall.
Thank you, James. Item 2, is there any more apologies? No? No. We'll move on to item 2. Declarations of interest. Are there any declarations of interest? No. We'll move on to item 3, which is the Mayor's announcements. Since our last Town Council meeting, I attended Southmore Memorial Park on Remembrance Sunday to lay a wreath on behalf of Stanley Town Council. On November the 11th, I attended a short wreath laying ceremony outside the Civic Hall. It was unfortunate we could not do the usual full service, but I think it was very important, even with the current pandemic, we paid our respects and show we remembered them in one way or another. Unfortunately, our Christmas activities have been severely disrupted this year too, due to the pandemic. There will be no Mayor's Carol service, no gathering for the turn on of the Christmas tree lights, and no pantomime at the Civic Hall. Here's hoping 2021 is a better year for us all. Please keep up the amazing good work you are all doing. Try to support your local shops and businesses. Look after one another. Stay safe and have a lovely Christmas. Thank you. James, do you have anything you want to add?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I was hoping to provide a COVID-19 update with regards to how it's affecting the council and how we move forward from this point of view. Unfortunately, we're still unaware at this present moment in time which tier we will sit in, although it is likely that we will sit into tier 3. With that in mind, I'd like to bring a COVID update to you all at the next meeting, and in the meantime, brief you all via email. The only thing extra I would like to add, Madam Mayor, is that we do a roll call as per previously. And the roll call is to ensure that members can see and hear each other and they have had access to all the necessary paperwork. So with that in mind, could I have a roll call? If you are in agreement, if you could say yes or for, and then we'll make a note of that. So Councillor Christine Bell.
She's not in.
She's not in. Councillor Gordon Binney.
Evening, Councillor Gordon Binney for the Havana Ward. Yes, I can hear and I have all the paperwork necessary.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Helen Clark.
Yes, Councillor Helen Clark, Tanfield Ward. I have all the necessary paperwork and can hear you.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Alex Clegg.
Yes, I can hear everyone. I've got things here.
Thank you. Councillor Mark Davidson.
Yeah, Mark Davidson from Craighead and South Stanley. Yeah, we've got all the paperwork and I can hear and say everybody. Thank you.
Councillor Carol Hampson.
Yes, Councillor Carol Hampson, Craighead and Southmore Councillor and Mayor of Stanley. I can hear and I've got all the relevant paperwork. Thank you.
Councillor James Kane.
Yeah, Councillor James Kane, Stanley Hall Ward. I can confirm that I can hear, see, and I've got all the paperwork.
Councillor Carl Marshall.
Yeah, just to confirm exactly the same.
Councillor Joe McMahon.
Yeah, confirm everything's working on my end. I've got all the paperwork as well.
Councillor Joan Nicholson.
Councillor Joan Nicholson, when it finally works. Yes, I can hear and...
She's muted.
Oh, we did it. Is everything okay, Councillor Nicholson?
She's still on mute.
There.
Oh.
Can you hear us, Councillor Nicholson?
Yeah.
Oh, fantastic. Councillor Jack Pallas. Councillor Jeanette Stevenson.
Yes, I can hear and I can see everyone and I've got all of the paperwork. Thank you.
Councillor Les Timby.
Councillor Les Timby, Southmore and Quakin Houses Ward, leader of Stanley Town Council. I've got all the necessary paperwork and I can see and hear everybody.
Councillor David Tully.
Yes, hello, Councillor David Tully, Tanfield Ward. I can hear you, see you, and I have all the necessary paperwork.
And Councillor Joanne Tully.
Hi, yes, Councillor Joanne Tully for Tanfield Ward. I can hear and see everyone and I've got all the necessary paperwork.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. We'll move on to...
Councillor Wilkinson off, he's there.
Oh, sorry. Councillor Wilkinson. But he's not in.
No.
You had his apologies in. We'll move on to item 4 on the agenda, which is the leader's statement. Councillor Les Timby, please.
Yeah, thanks very much, Mayor. Just a bit similar to what James said earlier. We're still in this COVID pandemic. We don't know what tier we're going to go through. We're awaiting government instructions, if you want to say so. But for those who haven't seen the news at 6 o'clock, there is a easing of restrictions from the 23rd to 27th of December for families to get together. So we will be hopefully still wary of the situation and react to whatever tier we are placed in.
Thank you. We'll move on to item 5, which is public participation. And were no questions received?
I can confirm, Madam Mayor, that there are no questions from the public.
Thank you. Item 6 on the agenda is confirmation of the minutes of the extraordinary council meeting held on the 27th of October, which is attachment A. Has everybody confirmed they're a true record? Yeah. Anybody got any questions? No. Everybody happy? Right. Move those then.
Chair, Councillor Timby's put his hand up.
Oh, sorry. Councillor Les Timby, you got your hand up.
I would just propose that we accept these.
Thank you.
I second that.
Alex has seconded it. Thank you. We'll move on to item 7 on the agenda, which is attachment B. The committee meeting to receive the minutes of the Finance and General Purpose meeting held on the 17th of November. Do we have a proposer?
Councillor
Jeanette Stevenson, you've got your hand up.
Can I just propose that we receive the minutes, please?
Thank you, Jeanette. And a seconder? Who's James Kane? You have your hand up.
Yeah, I just want to formally second that, please, Chair.
Thank you very much for that. Next item on the agenda is item number 8, which is the Financial Services Compensation Scheme, attachment C. Anne to report. Is Anne in? Anne, can you hear us?
I'm sure I just seen her.
Apologies for that. Yes, I can hear you all now.
No problem. I was starting to panic.
Right, so in relation to the Financial Services Compensation Scheme, this is a report regarding the protection of the Stanley Council funds. You'll see from the report that the council could be at risk of losing any funds over £85,000. So with this in mind, it is recommended to deposit some of the council's reserves across additional bank accounts. The only thing to note at the moment is, at present, that the banks aren't taking on new customers. They're simply concentrating on existing business customers.
Right. So we need a recorded vote for this one. James, are you going to take us through the recorded vote, please?
I shall indeed, Madam Mayor. So, members, this recorded vote is to decide that we go with the recommendation as formally put by the Finance and General Purposes Committee to look to set up additional bank accounts in which to deposit some of the council reserves in line with the Financial Compensation Scheme restrictions of £85,000 to spread the risk as soon as possible. Councillor Gordon Binney.
For.
Councillor Helen Clark.
For.
Councillor Alex Clegg.
For.
Councillor Mark Davidson.
For.
Councillor Carol Hampson.
For.
Councillor James Kane.
For.
Councillor Carl Marshall.
For.
Councillor Joe McMahon.
For.
Councillor Joan Nicholson.
For.
Councillor Jeanette Stevenson.
For.
Councillor Les Timby.
For.
Councillor David Tully.
For.
Councillor Joanne Tully.
For.
That's unanimous, Chair.
Thank you. Right, we'll move on to item 9, which is the Civic Hall High Priority, attachment D.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. This report is as written. It is the writing off of £1,254.63 worth of stock, which is unfortunately become out of date due to the COVID-19 situation, not being able to sell stock. The recommendation that was made by the Finance and General Purposes Committee is that the stock is written off as reported and any non-alcoholic stock is given to local community groups or food banks, whilst also giving myself as the town clerk the authority to write off future stock of up to £500 per quarter, of which a report will be provided following that. If there's no questions, I can go straight to a recorded vote.
Can I have a proposer and a seconder, please? Councillor Stevenson, you have your hand up. Are you proposing it?
Yes, I would just like to propose that.
Thank you. And Councillor Kane, you have your hand up.
Yeah, I would just like to formally second that, please.
Thank you very much.
So, Madam Mayor, we move to a formal, a recorded vote. So, Councillor Gordon Biddy.
For.
Councillor Helen Clark.
For.
Councillor Alex Clegg.
For.
Councillor Mark Davidson.
For.
Councillor Carol Hampson.
For.
Councillor James Kane.
For.
Councillor Carl Marshall.
For.
Councillor Joe McMahon.
For.
Councillor Joan Nicholson.
For.
Councillor Jeanette Stevenson.
For.
Councillor Les Timby.
For.
Councillor David Tully.
For.
Councillor Joanne Tully. My apologies there.
For.
It's unanimous as well.
Thank you. And the second item on that part of the agenda, which is the furlough scheme.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. This is a report that was produced to let members know about the current situation with regards to the lockdown at the Civic Hall and with regards to the policy that we've followed with regards to furloughing members of staff.
And we're just asked to note that.
Yes.
And the third one on there is the priority maintenance from the Finance and General. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. This last report is regarding the priority maintenance, as mentioned, of which we've identified £16,500 worth of work plus a 20% variance to be taken out of the general reserves. So Finance and General Purposes have recommended that they give the authority to myself to spend the necessary monies on the maintenance and report back to the committee at a later date.
Councillor Stevenson, you have your hand up.
I would just like to propose that we take the recommendations from the Finance and Purposes Committee.
Thank you very much. And Councillor Kane, you have your hand up.
Yeah, just once again happy to second that, take the recommendations on board.
Thank you very much.
So, Madam Mayor, if we move to a recorded vote on this one again. So, Councillor Gordon Binney.
For.
Councillor Helen Clark.
For.
Councillor Alex Clegg.
For.
Councillor Mark Davidson.
For.
Councillor Carol Hampson.
For.
Councillor James Kane.
For.
Councillor Carl Marshall.
For.
Councillor Joe McMahon.
For.
Councillor Joan Nicholson.
For.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Jeanette Stevenson.
For. Sorry.
Councillor Les Timby.
For.
Councillor
Don't,
David
can I
Tully.
make a suggestion? You don't unmute yourself if it's going to be that much bother.
Councillor David Tully.
For.
And Councillor Joanne Tully.
For.
It's unanimous again.
Thank you. We move on to item 10, which is the Redmond review. Over to James again.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. This report, as read, it is a report or a review of the Redmond review, which Council should note that there is little really for us to do at this present moment in time, but I thought it was worthwhile full Council being aware of it.
Thank you. And we move on. Oh, sorry, Councillor Jeanette Stevenson had her hand up.
I just wanted to say part of that Redmond review is around looking at how we can modernise and make our financial information more accessible. So that is part and parcel of what we are continuing to do with regards to our agendas for the Finance and General Purposes Committee. And I just ask the Council to note it.
Thank you, Councillor Stevenson. We move on to item 11, which is the pay award. James, please.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'm choosing not to mute my microphone now. So again, this is a report to effectively it's to note, but it's also for it to be agreed by full council. All members of staff within the town council are employed under the Green Book ruling, which comes into account of the National Joint Council for Local Government Services. But they are new pay scales based upon a 2.75% increase, of which was implemented backdating to the 1st of April.
Thank you for that. Has anybody got any questions? Councillor Timby?
Yeah, I just propose that we agree what is the National JCC pay award.
Thank you very much for that.
I'll second that proposal.
Thank you, Alex. Carl, are you wanting to speak?
Yes, please, if I can, Chair. I mean, I just think we need to sort of acknowledge the absolute tremendous job that our staff do and that the staff of our council have done right the way through this pandemic. And I just wanted to note, and I'm sure colleagues across the council will want to support this, the scandalous sort of rumours that are coming out of Westminster of the government coming in on the back of a global pandemic when our council staff have been at the front line of supporting communities, and condemn the government if they do push ahead without a pay award that's not even in line with inflation for our workers up and down the country, which will again have a knock-on effect to our staff. I just think we need that on record, really, that as a council this is not the position we would want to be in, because we do value our staff and we think they deserve to be paid exactly what the government think that they're worth.
Thank you for that, Councillor Marshall. Anyone else wish to speak? Oh, he's took his hand down. Anyone else? No, I can't see any more hands. Well, thank you for that. We'll move on to item 12, which is the memorials. Alan Tubman to report on this one.
Hello, Madam Mayor. I've sent a report around everybody. It was just a follow-up report, really, I did a similar report at the same time last year. So it's just to let people know where we are in relation to various memorials throughout the town and know how important it is to the council. Existing memorials, we did a quick look at the ones that's there at the moment. There's no real change. The only issues I could identify there was the long-standing issue with Craghead, with obviously the steps getting access to that. And there's also St George's Church with that potentially closing. I had a quick word with the Reverend down there, and they said that was the process they were going through, because obviously there's a memorial in the grounds of the church. And she said she would keep me informed of how that worked through, and then I would, by return, keep you informed about where things are with that, and if there's any decisions need to be made, anything we can get involved with moving forward on that. With the proposed new memorials, it was agreed at full council 26th of November 2019 that I work with some local groups in relation to those. Shield Road Gardens, I've been working with them. They identified a site which I've shown in the appendix. We got an agreement of DCC to utilise the site and also we have got them plan permission, which I think came up on the finance meeting last time, for have their memorial put there, and I believe the EAP supporting them in getting the memorial finished off down there. Tanfield Lee, again, I was working with the partnership on this. Speaking of the partnership recently, what they've said is, unfortunately, with the pandemic, etc., things have had to be put on hold a little bit. So it obviously didn't get done this year. They're hoping to revisit that at the beginning of next year with a view to try to get something in place for Remembrance Sunday next year. So I'm quite happy to do the same thing as I did with Shield Row, which is get the plan permission for them, and obviously we did we've got an agreement with them from DCC to use the land. The Dermot Infantry Association also asked for us to support them, us and the EAP. Just working with Daniel O'Brien on this one. Something else that was put on hold with the pandemic. So I had a word with Daniel. It's still very much a live project, so we need to pick this up again and look to get something sorted. Issue with this one's finding the appropriate location for it within the town. But again, I will keep members informed of that as we go along. The beacon, the Remembrance Beacon, obviously members will be aware that we took that down last year and we've created a permanent location, if you like, for the Christmas tree. Like, Christmas tree's not there permanently, but the location's there. So what we do need to do is to find a permanent location to have that in somewhere within the town for next year, basically. I did get asked to look at the possibility of one of the planters on the front street. We've got plant permission for that. But I mean, that was, again, a while ago, so I don't know whether members want to consider if there's a more suitable location for that within the town, and I can crack on with that and try to get that located somewhere permanently within the town as a focal point for, obviously, Remembrance Sunday, but potentially for other issues as well. The other one I've got is the COVID-19, which was given to me on full council the 28th of July. Spoke to Daniel O'Brien, the EAP. Happy. I also spoke to the church, Bishop of Durham, Bishop of Durham's office, and everybody's in the same position in the sense that they feel something needs to be done to recognise the suffering and also to show thanks to the people that support the people through this pandemic. But timing is critical, and I think at the moment this is a little bit as well where the intention is to go ahead with it, but it's a little bit on hold at the moment till we see how things pan out. That's it from me for an update on where we're at with all of them. Really, it's the council to note where we're at with the other stuff, well, most of them, sorry, and also give us a little bit of guidance, if you like, on where we look for locating, say, the beacon, but potentially the DLI. Happy to take questions or guidance. Thank you.
Thank you, Alan. Councillor Marshall, you have your hand up.
Thanks, Chair. Can I just start by thanking Alan for all the work he's done on this? It's obviously quite a comprehensive report, and there's a lot of work and going on with communities right across the area on how the town council can best support some of the memorials that exist and some of the new ones that are evolving as well. And I think we also should put on record our thanks to the Kates who've been supporting to keep some of the areas around these memorials clean and tidy during the lockdown period as well. I think from my point of view, what I'd like to suggest is that Alan picks up a conversation with Wendy Benson and makes sure that these sort of aspirations for the beacon and potential memorial involved in the DLI Association are fed into the master plan exercise. It makes sense that we don't just suddenly come up with a position now about where we want it on a map when things might be evolving and changing. And I'm thinking there might be opportunities, for example, in the space between the Civic Hall, the Louisa Centre and the top of Front Street, or there might be some changes proposed more radically further down the street as that work evolves. So I think it probably makes sense for Alan to tie up those conversations and maybe come back to us with a bit of an update and some options on it in due course. But I don't think we should necessarily put a time frame on that, because it's just important that that work evolves in the right and proper way with the public engagement and consultation as part of that. And it makes sense that any public engagement and consultation sort of involves some of our aspirations with the beacon and the possible other memorial in the town centre. So I'd like to propose that to Council, Chair, and recommend that we note the report.
Thank you for that, Carl. Councillor Davidson, you have your hand up.
Thanks, Mayor. I think what Carl said's a good way forward. Those of us who were on the master plan steering group will have received an invitation today for January for a meeting. So I'm sure that if Alan follows this up with Wendy Benson, then we can chase it up again in January and try to get things moving, because obviously we'll want the beacon in place for next November. So if we can get things moving on that would be great. So just second what Carl said, and Alan will have you back in on the 15th of January, mate, and we'll get things moving. Thank you.
Thank you for that, Councillor Davidson. Carl, are you wanting to come back in, or is that a historic hand? Oh, Alan Tubman, you have your hand up.
Yeah, if Carl's okay, he's got no. I mean, basically, I agree. I think certainly the beacon and certainly some of these memorials, it's vital to do a bit of planning on this to make sure that they go in the right place and they're properly looked after in the future, because they are significant features in the town. Thank you. I'll take that forward. Thanks.
Thank you very much. Anyone else? No. We'll move on to item 13. Which is January's full council meeting. We've to allow officers to submit the precept demand before the deadline, which is Friday the 22nd of January 2021. Council is requested to approve that full council will now meet 1 week earlier than scheduled on Tuesday the 19th of January 2021. Do we have anybody who will approve that? Councillor James Kane?
Yeah, I just want to say that I'm happy, obviously, to move this motion. It's vital that we do get the precept demand put in time if we want to get the funding for next year.
Lovely, thank you very much.
Second that. I'll second that.
Right, thanks, Alex. Right, that item 14, date and time and venue of the next meeting will be Tuesday the 19th of January 2021, 6:30, and it'll be live. Thank you very much for your attendance, and I hope, if I don't see everybody, I hope everybody has a lovely Christmas. Thank you.
Thank you, Benno.
Thanks, Carol.
Thanks, Carol. Same to you. Same to everyone.
Thanks, Carol.
The meeting stopped recording. We don't need to be nice now.